at Forman Christian College. You have met Fatma, who also is an education developer here, and there's another person behind the scenes, Zarek, who will be taking care of your chat, and Nasser at the when you're done with your talk, he will sort of talk to you about the questions coming in the chat, so that you do not have to worry about what questions are coming through. The purpose of the series is to establish a collaborative community of scholars and peer sharing and learning. The free part of the online course is to provide a wider access to national and international scholars and to foster knowledge equity that is most aptly demonstrated by our experts who have generously given of their time and energy. Over the years, we have developed this course to synchronize with the Researcher Development Framework by Vitae, and this framework was reconfigured in 2025. So at present, the 24 webinars provide a strong coverage of the domains related to researcher values, behavior, research methods, digital literacy, ethical and responsible research, scholarly communication, and publication. It offers a limited coverage of funding and finance, formal project management, supervision, people management, and research, translation, and commercialization. This course honors our FCC value of service to community. For this particular session, we have had over 8,300 registrations from 400 international and 230 national universities, spanning some 93 countries. As you see, Naser has joined us, and I thank you, Naser. And don't even ask me to pronounce your surname, that you will have to do when you introduce yourself. So Nasser is right now for attending a conference in Istanbul, but luckily for you, it was not much of a time difference and you could join us. Thank you so much. You are an associate professor of politics at the American University of Bulgaria, and your research examines religion and political authority with focus on Islamic political thought, state, religion relations, and Middle Eastern politics. You are actually the second speaker of our session whose research focuses on Islamic, literature or Islam-based researches. The one we had yesterday on systematic reviews had a massive grounding in Islamic literature. So you have published articles in leading journals, and which are very notable, and you have held academic positions. I didn't know that at Ashoka University in India, Australian Catholic University, and the University of Melbourne. So there's no dearth of interfaith intermingling at your end. So over to you, Nasser, for your from archive to article, and you, I think, put up a very apt theme for this, navigating humanities for writing and publication. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Roxana. Can I share my screen first?
And your surname, don't forget that.
Okay. You see my screen now? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you very much, Roxana. My surname is could be easy if you divide it into two sections. Ghobadzadeh. Zadeh in Iranian surname means son of, like the son of someone, and Ghobad is, I don't know, the old king, which I don't have any connection with, of course. Thanks a lot, Roxana, for the introduction and also for inviting me to contribute to this amazing program. I think it's a great honor and pleasure for me to be able to share my views as well as my experience, almost 15 years of experience of working in academia, writing and publishing, both as in journal articles as well as books, with a wide range of people all over the world, which is a great pleasure. And I hope that this session will be useful for participants as well. Okay, let me start with a question, if I can shift to, it doesn't, how it's gonna, yeah. Okay, you see the same, next slide, yes? Yeah. I like to start with a question actually, and the question is that why we want to publish? Of course, there is an obvious question because we want to get a job, we want to get promotion and all of it. But in the core of the one thing to publish is the fact that we have something to share with the world, something to share with our readers. But what is that something? Uh, one may say that that something is the new information that maybe we have gathered through field work. I mean, doing interviews or surveys, new data, new evidences we have got from the archives, or I don't know, even reading the literature, we have realized that there is something missing. There is some specific idea, things that are not talked about so far, what we call it as a gap in the literature. These are all true to some extent that what we want to share with the world is all of them, but our combination of these things, but it is not all. We need another thing as well to be able to publish. And that another thing is our reading, our interpretation of these materials. We can call these materials data, information, surveys, interviews, gap in the literature, and all of it as the raw materials, as the ingredients for something original, something novel. And that original and novel thing is actually is our reading from those raw materials. And reading those materials actually will help us to form, to design a question, which we call it as a research question. And from that, there is a puzzle. And the puzzle, again, is not about the missing information, missing data, or access to the archive or materials. What it is when we read those materials, those raw materials, we realize that something doesn't make sense. There are theories out there that we are familiar with them, and we realize that those theories are not explaining what we are seeing. So this is the point, the moment that we want to offer a new theory to understand those materials, to make sense, to make an understanding, an interpretation of those materials. Or we realize that there are articulations out there, there are conceptualization out there, but they are contradictory when we apply them to the material that we have, with the situation that we have explored, with the field study or whatever that we have worked on those ones. Or we come across that the realities on the ground clashes with the dominant narrations, that there is a narration out there explaining the situation, and when we see the situation, we realize that those narrations are not making sense, and we need to articulate, conceptualize a new narration to make sense of those raw materials. So, and with this one, I will say that what we call it actually argument that we need to make to be able to say that we are ready to publish a piece. We are ready to publish a piece and share it with the world. And that is exactly the moment that we are inviting the scholarly conversations. And the whole point is that we can never, in the humanities and social sciences, claim that we have the ultimate truth in our possession. We will never gonna get to the ultimate truth. What we are suggesting is just one interpretation among hundreds of thousands of other interpretations. And this is somehow the claim that when we get to that point, we can make that there is a vital piece missing from how we understand this world. And my article offers another way to see it. So this is just one way among the other ways. And you need to pin down that specific way of understanding, way of reading a phenomena, a situation, a set of data to be able to share with the rest of the world. And the answer that we give through this research question and the puzzle that we face is called argument. Actually, we are making an argument not to report a finding. That is somehow the case with the pure sciences, that they go to lab and they create some data and they report those data to through their publications. But in our cases, in the social sciences and humanities, it is more interpretation in the form of argument, contestable argument that we make and we offer to the world. And of course, that one should be based on the evidences, the solid supported evidences, both in the literature, means that whatever that others before us has said, along with the new information or data or the interviews or whatever that raw materials we have found to support our argument. But even when we have argument, still we need another thing as well. And that is the somehow the shortest question that they talk in the literature is, so what? We or author being fascinated about the topic or even being correct about the topic doesn't make it enough interesting for the publisher to publish the idea. You need to show that why this is important, why the world should care about this, why the readers should spend their time, why the publisher spend their invest on this to publish that for the others. So it's not just in personal interest. There should be some significance to show what is at stake that you want to make contribution to that. So that is another important piece that when we try to publish, we need to make sure that we talk about the significance of our argument. And another point, maybe the last point about the argument that I want to make is that an argument must be contestable. You cannot make a claim or an argument and a statement which is not contestable. It is like the Popper's idea of the defining the science. The core character of the science is the falsibility. So you can reject the finding. And if it is not possible, then it is not a science. This is according to the Karl Popper. In social sciences, we say that the argument should be contestable. That's why I'm saying that you and we never can claim that we have the ultimate truth with ourselves. And I've got examples here. If that we say that wars are costly, this is not contestable. I mean, everybody in every corner of the world would agree with us that the war is costly. So that's not our argument because it cannot be contested. But if we make the case like that, the primary driver of the war is the leader's preparation of the threat, not the balance of power, this is somehow contestable. Maybe other people will come up and will say that the primary driver of the war is the human nature. Human is greedy species, and that is the primary driving forces, not the leader's decisions. Leaders doesn't have any other choices because by nature they are greedy. They are human beings, they are greedy, and they want to maximize their own interests, so they need to go to war. As there are many, many different theories, which I'm sure that you are familiar with some of them in the literature. So to finish this part, I also need to talk to you about the importance of conceptualization. And what I mean by conceptualization is that you need to be very, very careful with the choice of the words, the terms that you want to use. Actually, the terms, the words direct, lead your argument in a way. It is embedded in the argument, the kind of the words that you are using defines the importance, the significance of argument as well. So how we define a phenomena, what vocabulary we use to define a phenomena actually defines how we analyze that phenomena or that experience or whatever observation that we have. And be careful that a generic vocabulary doesn't make any difference. For example, using this is very important, it is important, this is significant, doesn't make any meaning. You can use important in everywhere, but in what term it is important? In what meaning you are saying that it's important? Is it because it is decisive in constructing something, or is it decisive working as a challenge to something, that it is playing the key role in challenging or acting as a barrier to the processes? So you need to be very careful not to use generic vocabulary, and that's very important to focus on the choice of the words throughout your article, particularly when you are thinking about the title of your article, when you are working on the abstract and the introduction. These are the places which are very important to be careful with the words that you are using. And sometimes, and this is one important point, that actually in social sciences, you will hear that a lot, that the writing is the process of research as well. So while you are writing, actually, it is a part of the research that you are doing as well. And during the writing, it leads you what to read. It guides your reading as well. What kind of evidences, what kind of literature, what kind of the text to look. Excuse me. And also, it gives you the opportunity to think about your key concepts. That if the concepts that I'm using, if the words, terms that I'm using, notions that I'm using are conveying exactly, transferring exactly what I mean by what I want to mean, I want to say in this paragraph or in this sentence. And sometimes nothing of the existing vocabulary may work. One good example is the Martin Heidegger's, which I'm sure many of you know, the great uh, German philosopher, who somehow framed, articulated a new concept of Dasein, like the meaning is being there, to describe a situation, to describe a status of human being in the modern world. And he couldn't find exact words like the human or subject or object, this kind of the words in existing literature to explain what he mean by the situation that he wants to describe about the human in the new modern world. And he took the word da from there and signed being in German language and coined the concept of Dasein, which is somehow one of the key critical concepts in the 20th and 21st century that if in any philosophical text that you read about the modernity and the modern world, you will come across with this word. And everybody now are familiar with the concept of design, which he articulated, he coined at the first place. And this brings me to, I think that we need to mention the AI as well. This is something that we cannot avoid in everything that we talk nowadays to talk about it. This brings me to the interesting topic about the AI, which is, I personally believe, is very, very important, helpful, and useful tool, particularly in helping us to speed up, to accelerate the process of the research by helping us to analyze data, by helping us to find data, to helping us with many, many tools that we can use throughout the processes, even finding resources. And of course, as you all know, it's not 100% reliable. You still need to double check whatever that you get from AI with the reliable sources, but it helps a lot in terms of processes of research. And also it helps, I think it is from a social justice perspective, it's very important as well in terms of giving you, and although particularly those who English is not their first language, to proofread and edit their text very easily, very quickly, very effectively than the traditional method that we used to send to the editors and proofreaders to read our text before sending it to the publisher. So it helps from that point of view. But going back to the conceptualization, AI is not capable of conceptualizing things for you. AI would never be able to coin a term like design. You need to think about that one. AI will never be able to make an argument for you. The interpretation is something that is our job. We will be only one, at least for the time being, who is capable of making an argument, making an interpretation, a reading, a specific reading, a complicated reading, which includes the all nuances and contradictions, paradoxes, bringing them together in a very solid, cohesive way and making it understandable for the readers as well. So AI can never replace us in that context. Uh, this is just like what I said. AI cannot think about the puzzling, the thinking, the conceptualization, and all of them are the tasks that at the end of the day we need to do ourselves. So now I want to spend a bit of time to talk about that how to choose journal and publish. But I don't know if we want to have Q&A right now about this part of the talk, or we will have it all at end. Because this is a totally different what we do after having the paper, Roxana. Shall I continue or have question right now?
No, I think we will finish your PowerPoint first and then go to question.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Okay. Now, the other important phase in our work is to publish. We have an argument, we have write the piece, and we want to publish it. Of course, there are different ways of publishing. One common way is working on the article. The other is the book or op-ed and all of those things that we will talk. I will focus here specifically on journal article, but books has got their own story that if there is any question, we can discuss it in the Q&A. But now I will focus on just journal articles, which I think is very complicated. And right now I'm very upset because I got rejection for one of my articles this morning. So that is something that you will come across a lot in your career as well. The first point to think about it is that most of particularly early career researchers, they write the paper first and then they start looking for a journal to publish it. And that is totally wrong way to think about the publishing. You need to first think which journal I'm going to write to, which journal I'm going to send this piece to. And to be in safe side, because there are more chances that you will get rejected, to identify a few journals, at least 2, 3 journals at the early stage of your writing, that you write in a way that would match all of them to send to them. And of course, I will mention that you cannot send a journal article to a few journal at one time. You need to send one by one because they are very strict about that. In every time that you submit a journal article, they will ask you if you have submitted to this article to another journal or not, and you need to tick the box that you haven't submitted. And then it's very important to make sure that you submit an article to only one journal at a time. So to choose a journal, the first point to think about is to think about the aim and scope of the journal, which is always written in the journal homepage in the website that you can read. And you need to make sure that what they are looking for, what they have already published, are somehow your paper fits within that aims and scope of that journal. And of course, there is another point to take into
Dr. Ghobadzadeh, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I think your slide is still stuck on the previous one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry. Yeah. Is it fine now? Yeah, sorry, this doesn't work together. I don't know why.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. You need to think about your audience. There are in every disciplinary some generic journals, which some of them are very hard to get to publish. For example, in the political sciences, the American Political Science Review or European Political Science Review, these journals are very difficult to get into, but they have very a wide range of audiences. Those who are in the political science, they all read those journals. And there are some specific subfields as well. I mean, thematically as well as the regional studies. For example, you can find a journal on the Middle Eastern studies, good journal, bad journal, and all of them. So this is another factor that you need to take into consideration if you want to address the wide range of people in the discipline, or you want to focus
जी
specifically.
अलीशा आए तुम्हारी अम्मा चल पड़ी
Yes. Yeah. And other thing that journals are very picky about is the type of the papers. If your paper is empirical and data-driven, or they are theoretical interventions. And usually journals are leaning towards one of this area. So you need to make sure that your piece fits within that journal which that you are targeting to submit. I need to click in both screens. The sad fact about the publishing with the journals is that the rejection rate is very high, particularly in the top-tiered journals, top-ranked journals. It is almost all of them have got 20% acceptance rate, and some of them even have got less than 10% accept rate. And you need to be ready for that, not to get upset. And of course you will, as I still do after getting a 100 times rejection. But you need to move on. I mean, that's a part of the job that you put a lot, and particularly for each journal even. I will talk briefly, sorry, that how it is time consuming to prepare your final text to meet the style and guidelines of the each journal, but still you get rejection just by the editors, and that's that feels very bad, but that's the reality of job that we are doing. Every journal has got this information, even the rejection letter, rejection rate or acceptance rate, the time frame that it takes. And with the time frame, I forgot to say that usually you need to expect at least between 1 and 2 years for a journal article to be published. So it's again time consuming in terms of the processes and waiting for the, even after acceptance, usually good journals take a couple of months to get to the publishing stages. And of course, nowadays it's better because there is this habit of first publishing online, which is good. The journals goes online in early stages and later publishes in the paper print as well. So for those information, you can always check the journal's website, which has got all metrics about the ranking of the journal, about the different citation rate, the H index, and all of it, as well as I said, the wait time, the processes, the rejection rate, and all of them. But not always trust the journal's pages, because sometimes they highlight the elements that they are good at it, or they report from the rankings which have ranked them higher. There are general reliable places to check. Scopus is the best one to check the journal's ranking and status. Web of Science and Simago is the other one which you can check the ranking and other informations about each journal. And one more point, important point to share with you is that it is very, very important to be able to publish in high rank, I mean Q1 top ranked journals, because that makes a big difference when you are applying for a job, when you are applying for a promotion, as well as when you are applying for the grants, for funds, research funds from here and there. And that plays an important role in the way that they read your scholarship. before submitting journal articles, please make sure that you read the guideline very, very carefully, and more importantly, apply them point by point. It is very, very important. I have seen many people not taking it seriously because they think that, well, we have got the argument. This is a solid paper. This is a very, very important point, and it has got everything. Why I should care about the punctuation? Why I should care about the referencing style? Why I should care about the spelling, if it's a English or American spelling? But these are very important, particularly because this items makes your paper to get desk rejection. Desk rejection means that editors reject, or if they are a nice person, they would return back to you to make the changes according to the guideline in their website. And this is something is very costly for you, because the most important factor in our work is the time. As I said, it will take at least 1 to 2 years in average to publish a paper. And if you spend, I don't know, 1 month of going and back with the editor to make the changes that you could do from the beginning, you won't lose the time. And in many cases, it piss off the editors, and it doesn't look fine. I mean, not to follow the guidelines in terms of the font size, the referencing style, and the line spaces, and this I mean format stuff, which are very important. As I said, time consuming, what important when we are submitting. Okay, when your piece get to the editors, they have 2 questions to deal with. The first one is that if this is a paper, a topic which fits the scope and aims of journal. If this is related to the other papers that we have published so far, if it communicates with them, if it is in conversation with the topics, the areas that we have covered. That is the first main question. And the second one, of course, is the quality of the paper. So if the argument is a sensible, reasonable argument, if it is supported and they read it very carefully and they decide if it is worthy enough to invest on that process of the review. So you may also get rejected because of your paper not being in the scope of the paper, scope of the journal, or because from the editor's point of view, it is not strong enough to spend time on reviewing it. And then they send it at least to 2 reviewers, at least, in some cases 3. Sometimes they send to a few reviewers because there is no guarantee that everybody will agree to review the articles. Unfortunately, the process is, in a way, all the academic jobs in the process are done free of charge. I review papers at least 4 or 5 every year. I get paid nothing, I mean, for the reviewing, and everybody does it as a contribution to the field. And it's not something that everybody would agree to do. And in many cases, if it's not something that they won't feel comfortable with, too much work to review, they will just easily refuse to review. So that is why usually editors send their journal to a few reviewers to get back at least from the 2 of them. And it happens that sometimes 3 of them says yes, and you get 3 reviews for 1 piece. When the reviewers comes, there are three recommendations by reviewers, and of course, the final decision is made by the editor. But generally, they have a recommendation in their reviews. The one is the accept as it is, which is very rare. I have seen rarely that happens. The second one is the reject, because they say they make comments that this is not solid enough to be published, or this happens more often than the accept case. But most of the cases, you will see that there are minor revisions or major revisions or rewrite and resubmit options. This minor revision or major revisions are more common than accept, at least. I'm not sure about the reject, straightforward reject as well, if that's more than revisions or not. So when you get the comments, you will have different feelings. Sometimes you will get upset, sometimes you will get angry, sometimes you will feel that it's not fair. The reviewer has not read the paper, hasn't paid enough attention. All those feelings will come up with the different sentences, with different statements, with different papers. You will have that feeling. But in responding to reviewers, you need to make sure that you don't get defensive. I will talk a lot shortly, briefly about that, how to respond. But here, just when you are making the changes, make sure that you use the track change to be very, very clear and candid about the changes that you have done, or at least highlight the updated section, like use the different colors to show the editor as well as to the reviewer exactly where you have made changes. So you need to make sure that it is easier for them to make the final decision. If you make it harder by, I don't know, I've seen people want to trick and they say that, oh, we made these changes in a letter, but they haven't done it, or they have just relocated some paragraphs and this kind of the things. They will find out. I mean, that's their job. And it's not fair for them to do that, because you are wasting their time, and they are doing this free for the contribution to the field. So it is fair to make them their job as easy as possible. It will help you to get the decision quickly as well. So change in the main document through the track change, or make it clear, and also write a letter and bring up all the points made by the reviewer, every reviewer, 2 or 3 reviewer, and respond to each of them one by one in a separate letter. Explain that I have replied, I have changed this, made this change in the text, I have addressed this one in that paragraph, or whatever, in the more explanatory way that you can. And of course, I'm not saying that write 10 pages of the letter to the editor or to the reviewer, but respond to the points as effectively as possible. And when you are responding, one thing which is important that I mentioned earlier is not to get defensive and never combative. Look, as I said, the reviewers, the editors, academic part are doing this free for just the sake of contributing to field. And you don't need to be aggressive about them, even if they have missed something, even if they have misread your paper. You need to be open to critiques and to reapply. So you never write in your response that the reviewer is wrong, or the reviewer didn't understand my argument, or the reviewer didn't read it very carefully, or I have discussed this in this pages that the reviewer has missed, and it seems that the reviewer hasn't done the job, or this kind of the wordings or narrations. Be very respectful, be very appreciative about their job, what they have done. And even if you think that it is done in the paper properly, you may better to make some minor changes and then say that this comment is very constructive, and it seems that we haven't explained it very well, and now we made changes to make it clear, instead of saying that you didn't read it very well or you didn't understand it. So try to be respectful throughout responding to the points that you are doing throughout the processes. So last point that I want to make is about that when you get your paper published, that is not the done job. That's not finished. Particularly nowadays, unfortunately, promoting yourself is very important. And it is not easy task to get the people to read academic articles, academic journal articles, particularly if it is the theory-based or theoretical contribution, it makes it much more harder. And unfortunately, most of cases, I was reading a paper a couple of years ago that they had this figure that 74% of journal articles, they are never read, even once, never read. And that's the sad part of the story, that we invest all of this time, energy, and many people are engaged throughout the processes, and they just get buried somewhere in some library. Nowadays, in the cloud basis, even in many cases, they don't publish a print version of the journals in some cases. So promoting your work is very important, which I personally don't like it, and I'm not good at it, and I haven't done it properly, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, if you think of your career, your opportunities in finding a good job, in getting promotion, in being able to secure grant research funds, you need to increase your citation. You need to make sure that your work is seen, is read, and cited by the others in the field as well. And to do that, I think the best way is to use the social media, Twitter, I don't know, the Instagram, Telegram, and there are many places. I'm not in them, unfortunately. I'm only in the LinkedIn, which I'm not very active, but I know that that's very important, and many people have started using it, this tools, which is very, very, very useful and important. There are academic networks. Make sure that you have got a profile in academia.edu, ResearchGate, and this helps you to particularly communicate to those who are in the field specifically, but because eventually you get connected with the people whose work are in the same area, and they are the ones that will be your main target, because you want them to see your works, to read your works, and to cite your work as well. So that is very important to be in this areas like academic and ResearchGate. And the other thing is that to keep your profile, make sure to have profile in this Google Scholar, in ORCID, and to make sure that you keep it updated. Everything that you publish, you post it there as well, to make sure that more people see them all. In addition to this promotions of your work in different platforms, another way to promote yourself and your work is through writing op-eds, and if you are that kind of person, to do some interviews with medias. Op-eds are very, very easy to write. Usually they require you to write 800 to 1,000 words, not big piece. And it's not very, complicated. Of course, you need to get the skills. I'm sure that there are many guidelines out there that you can easily read and understand how to write an op-eds. Op-eds from your own work, the argument that you are having in the paper, you need to be able to translate it, to somehow to use new vocabularies, new terminologies that would be more understandable, more easier to connect with the larger audience. And when you write op-eds, then of course you will send it to different platforms. There are many platforms right now, particularly the conversation and project syndicates are the ones that I think is more academic nowadays, particularly the conversation. I know that they just publish from the academic people, not from the outside. So they are very, very good platforms to communicate, to connect to wider audiences, and also a good practice for yourself to see if you are capable and what are the processes and the nuances of translating your work to a more easy accessible language, to more easily communicative languages to talk to the general audience. I think that I will stop here. That's all I wanted to share with you. I will be happy to get any Q&A. As I said, book publishing is a different processes that we can talk about it if there is any question. But beyond that, I'm open to any question. Thank you.
Zarek, please proceed.
Dr. Ghobadzadeh, I will be reading out the questions one by one and you can answer them accordingly. So
Yeah,
the
sure.
first question we have is from Dr. Ehsan Farooq, who is joining us from Rifa University. And he actually has two questions. The first one is, what are the risks of using generative AI for brainstorming or structural advice regarding intellectual property?
Look, I mean, it is very, very complicated now, particularly because the whole process is quite new and everybody are navigating how to deal with it. As far as I know, so far there is no any way that we could understand it if text is written, is prepared to some extent with the AI, unless that there is some obvious signs or reason to convince us. But even through that, I mean, it's not like uh, the previous plagiarism processes that you could copy and paste from some paper and the word by word you could say that this is from there. With the AI, it's not working like that. And even all journals now have got this clause that you need to tick that if you have used AI, you need to declare it, how you have used it, and to explain it that you have used it for editing, for proofreading, or finding sources, or whatever. And obviously, using it for the thinking or argument, I don't know if it's possible or not. I personally believe that it's not possible to ask AI to write the full paper. But that's a part of the things that we need to declare when you submit the journal article. But and other thing to take into consideration with the AI is that, look, this is quite new phenomena. And who knows that in 6 months' time, in 1 year time, 2 years' time, we will have the tools to know, to find out what the use of the AI has been done in each paper. Maybe in year time or 2 years time, we will get to the point that we can just submit a paper or a piece of text to a tool and then ask it to tell us exactly what parts have been done by AI. Maybe that will be possible. And because of that, could be very, very risky to go beyond the limits of how to use AI. And I think that we need all to be very careful. And as I said, I mean, there is no a solid final answer to the use of the AI today.
The second question is, what can one do if they suspect that a reviewer used an AI tool to evaluate or summarize their confidential manuscript?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, this is again, I review a lot, and I again another a box that I need to tick when I'm submitting my review is to tick the box that I have never uploaded it to AI or used AI to review a paper. That's something that I right now, I mean, every journal that I have at least reviewed 3, 4 journals article this year, and in all of the cases I have ticked that box. So that's their responsibility to tick that box. But if they have used it, I don't know. I mean, if I personally get that feeling from a review, still I won't challenge it because I think that will be very controversial. The first to prove that it is used by AI, and it could be again falling into the trap of being competitive and assertive in terms of the dealing with the whole processes, which I think for many years I've heard from many people, and my own experience is that we should avoid to falling into that the assertive, defensive sort of the relationship with the editor and reviewers.
The next question is from Hafsa Bakar, who's joining us from the University of Faisalabad, and she asks, what are the contemporary qualitative methodologies in social sciences that currently hold the highest appeal and rigor for journal reviewers?
Oh, many things. It depends on the. I mean, reviewers, as I said, as you know, I mean, they come from the different academic backgrounds. They have their own field of study, their own method of study, their own methodology, and of course, if the reviewers is familiar with the methodology, qualitative, quantitative methodology that you are using, that will be helpful for them to understand it. But it is not for sure to guarantee that that's the case. So that's why you need to be very clear in your papers that how you are approaching, you are conducting your research. And I don't know. I mean, my experience is that methodologies like discourse analysis are more common than others with terms of the qualitative and obviously quantitative, the surveys, the data. There are different methods that they use. I never use the quantitative methods. So it's very hard to say that, I mean, which reviewer is going to be sent your paper because, as you know, it's anonymous. It's the double-blind review processes. And I think that more than relying on the reviewers and what they think, you need to rely on the strength of your argument, strength of your paper, that it is well written, it is well supported by the solid evidences. That is much more important than thinking that what the reviewer will think, because you can never guarantee that who is going to review. And even trust me on this one, that you will feel and correctly, legitimately feel that the process is not fair. Sometimes you get the reviews that I have get rejection for my paper because very, very clearly the person who reviewed the paper had a political opinion about my position because I was writing about more religious friendly forms of secularism, and it was obvious that this guy was very hostile towards any religious affiliation or any kind of the saying positive thing about religion. You could read from the every sentence of the review that they have done, but you cannot do anything about it. I mean, and I don't think that it will help even to bring up any matter with the editor. Editors are somehow, uh, I think generally they are determined to support their reviewers, because at the end of the day, reviewers, their choice as well. By questioning reviewer, you are questioning their competency as well, that you have picked a reviewer which is not fair, which is not good. And that's the process of his job to do, or her job. And you are questioning his competence or her competence in that process.
The next question comes from a lot of participants who want to know how can they, as researchers, use AI responsibly to improve their analysis and manuscript preparation while preserving originality, critical interpretation, and meeting the publication ethics of the journal.
Look, I mean, one way that I have heard, I have never done that. I don't know, because that's so critical and I don't know if it's right or not. But one way that I have heard some people have started using it is that when they have an argument, they pitch into the AI and say that, what do you think about this article? What are the shortages of this article? How it could be improved? What critique? What I don't know, problems with this argument is that? And through that, they get some idea of how they improve their arguments. That's what I have heard. But I think I don't know if what kind of points the AI could give to you. But I've heard from some of the colleagues that they have started having this kind of conversations with the AI. One thing that I very often use, coming from a non-English background, it helps a lot for me. I'm very picky about the concepts and notions. As I said, these are very, very important. And it helps me a lot because sometimes you say a generic word. I mean, like we are saying that this guy argued this, that, and but maybe it's not argument. You need to use another word to say what exactly happening here. And in those contexts, it helps a lot to me. I mean, I talk to AI saying that I want to use this verb, but I don't think that this verb is exactly what I'm gonna say. It doesn't convey the core of what I'm saying. What are other verbs that I can use, or what are other terms and notions that I can use which would have this specific meaning, which would embed in itself this specific meaning. And it helps me, honestly. I mean, I used to, before AI, I used to use thesaurus a lot for that because it has got many synonymous verbs and terms that you can use. But nowadays, AI has made it very easily, I mean, accessible. I use for that one. And of course, proofreading and editing is amazing tool. I think it helps a lot. I mean, I used to use proofreader to send out to other people to pay them to do the proofread of the final before submitting to journal or submitting my books. But now I do it with the AI, and it is very, very helpful. And I think that it's from epistemological point of view, it's very fair as well for the non-speaking English, non-English speaking language scholars, because it's empowering us from the linguistic point of view. Having said that, still we need to coin the words. We need to think about what word we are going to use. What I'm going to what I'm saying by this is that you need to think what you want to say, and but the exact word could be get help from AI. That's what I'm doing. I know what I want to say. I'm not asking AI to tell me what to say here. I'm thinking about it, but to find the right word to convey that thinking into the words, that AI helps me with that one. And of course, I'm sure that there are many other ways to use AI, and people. Resource finding is great. I also use for resource finding. And of course, you need to make sure that you double check the resources. Last year I was teaching a course and I needed a YouTube debate about some topic. And AI ChatGPT gave me, I think, I asked him 10 times, and it created false information about a YouTube channel, a YouTube clip, and it made up everything perfectly sounded. It had the key scholars that I was familiar with them, and it had got the link and everything, the topic of the title of the YouTube channel. I went there and there was nothing. There was nothing there at all. And 10 times I went back, said that, oh, this YouTube doesn't exist. And then it made up another one. Apparently, AI doesn't have the capacity to say that I don't know, or there is no such a thing. If it doesn't know anything, or there is no things that he can find, he makes it up. It makes it up. And it is the same with books as well. I had an email from my colleague just in the philosophy department, just I think last month. A paper was published with 3 articles and 1 book, citing from him the articles and book that he had never written. And it was all obviously AI made up in his name. And it was even published. I don't know how the reviewer, the whole processes didn't pick that this is, I mean, the resources is not fine. I mean, they are just made up resources. So you need to be particularly very careful with, if you are using the AI to find the relevant resources, to need to go and never trust the AI if it gives you the direct code or the argument of the source. It's not trustable at all. I have tried that one. It doesn't work at all. I mean, you should never trust AI to read the paper for you and tell you what argument they do, and the code that they gave to you from the paper, they make up. I mean, the AI makes up all together.
So, in the age of AI, where people are trying to remain creative and analytical, especially in terms of research, there are instances where they submit their self-composed work, but it gets flagged as AI, which is very frustrating because it is their original work. So, this means they might have to change their vocabulary to not sound AI generated or not sound like something AI might write. So, what are some practical strategies which you would recommend to maintain that originality while being analytical and meeting the publishing standards?
I don't know how it could happen. I don't know. I mean, AI is obviously trained based on the information that they have. I have never heard this, that you can write something that would sound like AR. The one problem, for example, I hear a lot, and I do apply it in my classes as well, that when I get a piece, if it's perfect, if it doesn't have any problem with it, I know that it is AI produced. So, but at the same time, I agree that we should use it for the editing and proofreading. We should acknowledge it in the when we are submitting a piece. And I think that that will come to the point that this kind of the evidences will not be a base to make a decision that it is AI generated. It is not easily, honestly, I mean, I, of course, mark papers, assignments, and all of it. I get suspicious, but I am at least personally very cautious. Particularly, I'm fine with people using as proofreading and editing. But there are other signs that you can say that it's AI generative. For example, AI usually is very repetitive. The same point is made in different languages, different types, in the different places. There are other signs that you can say. As I said, AI, in most cases, I have seen in my classes, as in even the review process, I have seen that there are sources which I mean, correct citation information. So that shows that it is AI made. But I don't know. I mean, I have never come across to the piece that it is human right, and then you can be suspicious of its being AI. I don't think that any human would write in that very systematic, organic, like perfect way. So I don't know how it has happened.
Yeah, it seems we are at the end of the questions, at least the important ones. And
Yeah.
Naser, I'm very thankful to you for finding time despite your busyness at the conference. Enjoy Istanbul. I think you're at Istanbul.
Yes, yes, and it's very hot here.
Oh, is it?
And they don't have
Uh,
aircon in the uni, unfortunately.
no, how
Yeah,
sad. Well,
yeah,
everybody will have to go to aircon with the way the world is going.
yeah.
So anyway,
Unfortunately.
enjoy the rest of your trip in Istanbul.
Thank
Go
you.
out in the evenings if you have not seen it before. It's a fantastic city. And we are very, very thankful. And we'll probably be bothering you every year for
Yeah, sure,
this
of course.
course because we hold this every year. And I see that mostly our participation stage around 600, which is a very good number. Thank you so much, Nasser, and
Thank
all
you,
the
Roxana, for this opportunity. It was a great pleasure. And if there was any question or anything, you can find me in the LinkedIn. I'm not in
okay.
Twitter or Instagram or any of them, but LinkedIn, you can just drop me. Everybody, I
Yeah.
will be happy to get
You
back.
you'll be amazed with that invite. You might start getting lots of questions.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you very
Enjoy.
much. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.